Apply online. EmploymentSolutionsLLC.com.
Here's an update from 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. It appears that Tennessee has found their football coach. Phil Fulmer did not take all that much time as they are finalizing a deal and are set to introduce Alabama defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt as the new coach of the Vols. He is going to stay on as the defensive coordinator at Bama through their run in the college football playoff. So that will end either on January 1st in their semifinal matchup against the top-ranked Clemson squad, or in the college football playoff championship game on January 8th, where they would be playing either Oklahoma or Georgia if they can get a win against Clemson first. ETSU men's basketball, big win yesterday, their most complete game of the year. They defeat Northern Kentucky 84-71, a team that they lost to earlier in the season, back at home on Sunday, hosting Hawassi. With a sports flash on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities, I'm Matt Pauley.
Do you like that heavy metal comeback right there? You like this heavy metal bumper? Tri-City Sports Now here. Work on getting some announcer to come in. Sports radio say they always get this like overbearing male voice to come on and just be sort of I guess now because tractor pull ads are out of vogue. Sunday. You get the same thing with several competing sports stations that like to basically insult your intelligence and all that. So, listen to the Plague here, 1240, the Plague, giving you the best sports and all that. The Plague will be the next. What do you think? We've been talking about, is 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities too long and all that? I'm going to suggest that, from now on calling the station the Plague. I think that'll be just tremendous amounts of people tuning in and all that. Well, the Fan and the Ticket seem to all be taken by a million other sports radio stations. I mean, how many sports radio stations out there are called the Fan? I would like WIN, the Winner. I think that would be good for a sports radio station. Pearl Harbor was 76 years ago today. Day that will live in infamy, according to everyone, not just FDR. Man, that the old football stadium in Johnson City was named after. Roosevelt Memorial Stadium. In time, they forgot about the Roosevelt, but it was always named that. In fact, there was a sign on what was Lonnie Lowe Drive in Cranberry, the road no longer exists. Then that entrance into the old stadium used to always say Roosevelt Memorial Stadium. And people argue, I've lived here all my life. I don't know. No, but called it that. Trust me, okay? That's the name and all this. I'll get to some thoughts about Pearl Harbor. Gerald Sensabaugh is running for office. Guess what else? If you can see this on Facebook, they've named the Sportsman of the Year. I think it is great. You've got here Houston Strong, Jose Altuve, and J.J. Watt. I love these selections. Why is Colin Kaepernick getting more attention than this? Tri-City Sports Now asks those questions coming back. Tri-City Sports Now. I am Marky Billson. Big day. Jeremy Pruitt. 6 o'clock is the announcement. It goes to the podium and find out more, and we'll find out, I guess, at that point if any staff is being retained. Let's see here. Somebody asking me, what office is Gerald Sensabaugh running for? It's actually going to be running for, here it is, right? If you can see this on Facebook Live. Yes, I'm actually letting the newspapers do my reporting for me here. Anyway, he is running as an independent to run for mayor of Sullivan County. Now, of course, David Crockett is in Washington County, but Sensabaugh is from Kingsport. Usually, it's not that difficult to get on the ballot in Tennessee. Now, this is kind of interesting because running as an independent, I like this. First of all, I wonder how much of his money is going to be, can I say that, going from his own pocket. That, you heard Donald Trump always saying, I am self-funding my campaign, or at least he did for a while. Well, I would think a former pro football player might be able to do that. It would mean that he would progress straight to the August general election ballot. He would not have to run in a primary if he won as an independent. That means that he could actually start campaigning right now. He would not be beholden or really identified as, with a political party. It's a great idea, to tell you the truth, for Sullivan County mayor, if you ask me. Let's face it, city council elections, that sort of thing, comes about. And, in Johnson City, you don't run with parties and all this. But and I would also suggest to you that, he may have more means available to him to run for office than some competitors. So he would be running for, I guess it's Randy Venable's old spot right there. Still no word on his future as football coach. Could you be the mayor and a football coach at David Crockett? I think you possibly could, although, you wonder about the future of Sensabaugh as the football coach. I've always been down with Gerald Sensabaugh. I've even remembered, and he's been a friend of the show. I remember when this first started up and he was complaining about the open classrooms in the David Crockett school system, the Jonesboro school system. And what that means is that you'd have one classroom, I don't know, I'll just use this. You have one classroom, let's say 6th grade. I think he was talking about elementary school. And it would be an open school, and, one school was learning math and the other side of the class was learning science. And it didn't strike me at the time, but I wondered then, and I said, you know what? He's absolutely right. That doesn't work. Because I remember I spoke of moving to North Carolina in 11th grade. We had that system in 6th grade. And I went from a personal experience, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, and the story does get unflattering. I went from someone who was in advanced courses in 5th grade at Alpharetta Elementary School in Huntington, Pennsylvania, to barely passing in Brevard Middle School in 6th grade. Now, a lot of that is a move, social stat, all this. Yeah, that's big. Different cultures. That is big. But we had that open room. And I can remember unable to listen to, my teacher because the teacher on the other side of the room was trying to do the multiplication tables. Talking about how you need to buy a book on sentence diagramming. I don't know. I am not a big fan of school. I've often said this. And yes, tune in to 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities on Tuesday when we give you the Unicoi County basketball games. But no, in the internet era, and I just primarily I think it's glorified daycare these days. I think people are learning how to read on Sesame Street, or for that matter, the internet these days. How do you get someone to help you with your computer. You ask someone who's less than 18. It used to be, how do you get someone to set your VCR? That's a little past your prime. You know, that's a little bit dated and all that with that. But yeah, how do you ask a child? It's always like that. I mean, you know, and the idea of staying on a single topic for 50 minutes at a time, your mind wanders. I mean, even on this, we got to mix it around. So in that case, I thought Sensabaugh talking about the open class, this has got to stop, this didn't work. Yeah, if they're still doing that in Jonesboro, yeah. End that. End that now. I'm speaking from personal experience. By the way, speaking of the Unicoi County basketball games that we broadcast on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities, thanks to Relay for Life of Unicoi County for sponsoring that. I also, on this Facebook Live, if you're watching in, look at this studio right here. You see this studio here? You see where we're looking at? Look at this ceiling. What would it mean for your business to have an ad right here posted? Or to even call this studio the, you know, Tri-Cities Widget Company. Right there, look at that. What would it mean right there to have your billboard right there in the background, 2 hours, people looking in all day? Or actually 24/7, because on Facebook you can watch this whenever you like. Or this ceiling. Look at this ceiling. Yes, it's beautiful. So actually, the ceiling is sort of, you know, we could use some pictures up there, but that's up. You can advertise on this. So call us at 423-743-6123 and find out how and some ideas and all this. I've got some ideas. But from a sports standpoint, I mean, think about if you've got a collectibles store. What would it mean to have, you know, I want to move my wares. I want to move that, I don't know, John Kelly jersey. I want to move that, I got the trooper looking in right here, so I'll say it for, I want to move that Zach Cunningham Vandy jersey. I'm saying that for you here, okay? It's like, hello, Trudy here. You know, post it up right here. If you actually have one of those to sell, yes, I think that you want to spend us the 20, and then the trooper will probably take it off your hand for whatever price you name, but there you. By the way, coaching searches, or in this case, managerial. If you thought it took a long time for Tennessee to hire their coach, what about the New York Yankees and Aaron Boone? I actually kind of like the hire. It's innovative. I know he hasn't had coaching or managerial experience before. I get that. But I do think that it is a... Why are they calling on this phone? Stop that. I do think that you have a circumstance in which... Is that important? I mean, it's baseball managing, and I believe the baseball manager is very important. I have heard people that say it is the least important of the four big sports. I think it is probably the second most important after football coaching, and maybe it rivals that more than we know, because I think baseball is such a strategic game. And anyone who's ever played Stratomatic knows this. I mean, you know, I really do. And I believe it really bears out. I've said this many times. Coaching, in my opinion, does come through in the playoffs more times than not. I mean, we've got to keep it a pros here, and I say this because certainly in baseball, your talent level, you blow a baseball game as a manager, you call for the wrong relief pitcher, or, you know, let the guy in a hit or two, or whatever you do. You've blown one game out of 162. Your team can overcome that. Talent wins out over 162. Now, I don't know. I mean, in the days of the old pennant races where you had to finish in first place, even, you know, maybe, you know, you'd have two skippers and they'd have equal talent, and one team would win 92 and the other would win 91. Yeah, that probably did come down to the skipper. I will tell you that. And I guess you could have that for the last wild card now, or even the wild card. But, you know, it's one of the reasons I don't like the watered-down playoffs. But, you know, I mean, the teams that finished with winning records in the American League, all of them made the playoffs this past year. That was talent. That wasn't necessarily managing. But once you got into the postseason, and you had Dave Roberts using, Rich Hill, I can't ask him to go 5 innings. I can barely ask him to go 3. What are you, insane? I can't ask him to go more than 60 pitches. He can't go through the order a third time. Once you're going into that sort of strategy, because, analytics tell me that. Actually, they don't. We went through what Rich Hill does the third time through an order. It's actually not that bad. But point being that I do think baseball managing is important, but innovative idea, young guy, relates to the players, certainly a fixture of the New York Yankees franchise, hitting arguably the biggest home run in the franchise's history back in 2003. I think that's debatable. Chris Chambliss, 76, I think is right there, and I might take Chambliss over Boone's hit simply because it ended a drought of Yankees ineptitude. They had not been to the World Series in 12 years. The Chambliss home run in 76 to beat the Royals, bottom of the ninth, 5th game, that put them into the series. They got swept by the Reds, but it really started a winning era in Yankees baseball. The Boone home run in some ways ended a winning era in Yankees baseball because they didn't win the World Series that year. And I realized they didn't in 76. But then the next year, they blow a 3-0 lead to the Red Sox. And I realized the Yankees win the World Series in, 2009? But it hasn't quite been the same since the Boone home run. But that's you go back to a winning era, you go back to one of the great moments of the franchise. Every time, he brings the lineup card out. I'm the big guy. I say you take care of your legends. Aaron Boone, a legend? Well, he was for a moment, certainly. I like it. And he comes from a baseball family. But more than that, what makes this, in my opinion, a great hire? Now, this is total bias. This is that objective sports. Now, this goes out. We're out there. Now you're talking to the 8-year-old boy getting into sports in the city of champions, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when I tell you this one. Favorite player growing up, Aaron Boone? Omar Moreno. There you go. He played for the Yankees briefly, 83, I think it was. He played for the Yankees. Did he play? The Yankees, the Astros. I'm sorry, he played for the Astros. Didn't he play for the Yankees? Yeah, he played for the Yankees 84, 80. There was a period of time he played for the Yankees. But yes, Aaron Boone. His favorite player growing up, Omar Moreno. For no other reason than that, he must be, I'm sure he'll be successful. I love it, which means if it's any indication, Moreno once played 500 straight games in a row. The Yankees will run a lot, and they'll have the same lineup in day after day. I don't think that's a bad thing. If they do it anything like Moreno. And they'll have, Moreno struck out a lot for a leadoff hitter. So, they won't have a problem with Aaron Judge striking out all the time either. So, there you go with that. All right. I have yet to get to ETSU and their successful game yesterday. We do want to talk as much as we can about the coaching search. Tennessee does not hire a new football coach every day. There are only 20, he's going to be the 25th coach, 24th coach in the history of the program. Well, there are only so many days where he is hired like this, but the ETSU game last night, I got to talk a little bit about that, and I will when Tri-City Sports Now comes back after this.